Hey everybody, it's Nick and Jay, and we are back from MSR Houston. And before we get into what happened at the Lemons race, I gotta give a quick shout out to Budget Rent-A-Car at Houston Hobby Airport. I was supposed to have a Toyota Camry or similar, but they hooked me up with a free upgrade.
Budget. Get out of the ordinary.
Yeah, now this is Houston, more or less. So, of course, we had to deal with slabs. Now, you know about slabs. They got the elbows sticking out. They got the trunks popping. They doing a lot of swanging and tipping. Houston.
Thank you for being part of the Houston community and culture. It got so quiet in here. How did I...
Now, more than a few teams got into the swang and spirit. We had the Event Horizon Plymouth Horizon. They had some new elbows. They had the new neon logo Lemons pop trunk. And then we had the full circle jerk auto BMW with their cardboard zip tie swangas, their Save Dat Money neon pop trunk, and they even had a fifth wheel. And then some teams, even if they didn't slab it up, when they got in trouble in the race, like Shamo Tutti Piloti and their Mazda Miata, well, we made them slab.
And we had a few good themes at MSR, including the Dallas Makerspace Nissan Pope Mobile,
the good from far but far from good Miata hippies,
the slightly confusing Men in Black from Low Speed High Drag,
stealing horsepower from the team to try and survive.
This is outrageous.
Yeah, but
Scandalous.
they starved to death because we don't have it.
Patriot Race Team and their Chevy S10.
America!
We always love seeing the poo emojis from Team Lemon Shito.
Wouldn't that really just be poo-mojis? Team Bury Up took their Toyota Solara and made an indistinguishable replica of the Supra from Fast and Furious.
Pop the hood. No shit.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time.
And last but not least, the F-Body from Team Bandit. This is a third-gen Firebird from the 80s, but the team has painstakingly backdated it to the second-gen Bandit from the movies. Last year, they had the second-gen front nose, and before this year's race, they went to the junkyard, they got pieces, and they converted the rear end too, and this thing looks amazing.
Now, hella sweet, we had a great crew of judges. We had Tom Webb from Colorado, we had Chris Abbott from Massachusetts, and of course, Houston famous local Sajeev was there as well. They brought out a whole new bunch of great penalties, and they brought out some classics such as the Reenact Your Crime with Hot Wheels, the Saran Wrap, and the all-new Film a Lemons infomercial penalty.
This is how Google says to do it. How can it be wrong?
Remember, avoid frustration, heartburn, diarrhea, and possibly those black flag penalties by using our handy products like the rules.
Now available for free at the 24 Hours of Lemons website.
At this race, there's a team that's become one of our favorites, Flaccid Chassis Racing and their Pontiac G6. Now, they were coming into this event having blown up 4 transmissions in 4 consecutive Lemons races. Surely this time, they wouldn't blow up a 5th.
Well, okay.
Now, I have owned a bunch of MGBs, so I always love to see an MGB show up. PB Blastin' brought their curiously beaver-themed MGB. The less said about that, the better. And it's always the same. On the outside, people say, like, an MGB is a classic. Every time you talk to one of these teams, like, well, yeah, it was in a field, and it was weird. They paid us to take it away. Huh.
That's weird.
We had an excellent all-ladies team of first-time Lemons racers called the Culmination HTX Queens. They're a spin-off of the all-guys Culmination HTX team with the Mustang.
Yeah, and those guys, they went with the direct pander to the judges approach, which always works so well in Lemons. And in Houston, that means just honor Sajeev.
And speaking of shamelessly pandering to Sajeev, Escape Velocity Racing went onto eBay and grabbed every single factory brown Hot Wheels toy that they could find and brought them to him in a plastic bag. Now, meanwhile, race car-wise, this was a little bit of a departure for EVR. They're pretty known at this point for running their Turbo Slant 6 Dodge Dart. We did a Lemons World episode on that car. This time, they were running a much more reliable Toyota Solara.
Yet another sucking up to Sajeev incident was Skinny Coyote Racing and their Ford Ranger. First of all, of course, Sajeev being a Ford nut, he owns a Ford Ranger. But then they also really knew all of Sajeev's favorite things like culturally insensitive Indian tchotchkes and pumpkin spice latte.
And maybe the high point of all of these Sajeev-centric bribes was from Low Speed High Drag, who brought an entire brown Chevy Corvair for Sajeev to use as a judge-mobile for the entire weekend. That was hella sweet.
One of the other judges this weekend, Tom Webb, aka Tommy Salami, he sold his Pinto wagon, aka the Meat Wagon, to Battle Scarred for this race. Tom might have had some second thoughts.
So apparently somebody stole my Pinto, my high school Pinto car, which I had some great times in.
Stop, thief! Stop! Hey, wait a minute! That's my car!
Here's a rookie team, Team Blues Brothers 2000, with a $500 my ass 2010 Mercedes-Benz C300 4MATIC. Well, here's the backstory. First, the car got flooded in one of the hurricanes they have down there in that area, and then it was sold at an insurance auction to a church pastor who gave it to his 16-year-old daughter, who then proceeded to crash into every single immovable object in Waller County, Texas. So then, this team had to actually go to the church and make the deal for $500, and it really was for $500 because he can't lie in a church. Then they had to rebuild the whole car with homebrewed brackets, hose clamps, zip ties, sheet metal screws, Velcro. It sorta worked, and the car ran great. They had to stop a few times for reapplication of Velcro, but other than that, flawless.
Hella sweet, Ranger Road brought a new hand-controlled car, this time a Nissan Xterra, to this race. And even hella sweeter, finally, Patrick, the poor guy who's been flying from Alabama to race after race after race and getting screwed out of being able to drive every single time, it worked. He got here, the Xterra was awesome, he got in, he drove, it was brilliant.
As you know, one of our main sponsors is Yokohama Tires, and if you run Yokohama Tires on your Lemons car, you're automatically entered in the Road Mangler Cup. That's a drawing at the end of the race that gives you a chance to win a free set of Yokohama Tires. We had quite a few teams on Yokohamas at MSR, but the two-car team of Low Speed High Drag went home with the free set.
All right, let's move on to the trophies here. We're going to start out with a special award for this race, which was still tipping somehow, and this is Full Circle Jerk Auto and their previously mentioned BMW. Now, we already knew we were going to love these guys when they pulled in with their BMW that had these zip tie and cardboard swangas behind this fine tow rig. But let's be clear, how much tipping can you really do with zip ties and cardboard? Well, we didn't think very much, but it turns out after the first lap,
still tipping on, still tipping on.
After the first hour,
still tipping on, still tipping on.
At the end of the first day,
still tipping on, still tipping on.
So who else could get the trophy still tipping somehow?
Before we get to the Judge's Choice, we've got an honorable mention for the Judge's Choice. This is Retarded Timing and their 2008 Mini Cooper. They showed up in tech with an Insane Clown Posse vinyl wrap professionally done and Faygo soda for bribes. We appreciated that because we're juggalos.
Whoop, whoop.
So about this wrap, which looked like it cost thousands of dollars. Well, the team captain's future son-in-law, his daughter's boyfriend, works at an auto body place, and the captain says, if you want to marry my daughter, you have to wrap our Lemons car. So this is how it came out. At one point, they got the new Take These Kids' Classroom Instruments and Play Us a Recognizable Song from the 80s penalty. The way that works is they can't tell us what song it's going to be. They have to play it on the instruments, and we have to be able to identify it. And if we can't, they don't get to leave the penalty box.
I am the tiger! I am the tiger! They did it!
Soon after that, they were back in the penalty box, and they ended Saturday in the penalty impound. We didn't have high hopes for Sunday, but somehow, overnight, they cleaned up their act, didn't have a single penalty box visit on Sunday. We don't know how that happened. Then again, we don't know a lot about much.
Magnets, how do they work?
So the real Judge's Choice winner was Big Rock Candy Mountain and their 250,000-mile ex-pizza delivery automatic Toyota Camry. Why? Well, they were on a hot-ass Yokohama comp rubber, and they caused nobody any heartburn, and they beat a hell of a lot of BMWs, to be honest.
And before we get into the I Got Screwed, we've got another honorable mention. This time, Alamo Distilling Race Team. They came back with their four-eyed Fox Mustang, immediately blew a motor, replaced that, blew that one too. They might have replaced one of their own. I don't know. They had a rough time.
But the team that even got more screwed and therefore won the I Got Screwed trophy was Team Aggie Lemons. They're from Texas A&M. They got this Mustang. It is the inexplicably reliable in Lemons V6 version of the Mustang. And this car has actually done really well for them, which is why they decided, hey, let's screw with it. So before the race, they decided they were going to do an ECU tune.
You didn't do anything.
Didn't I?
The ECU tune is what the kids are doing these days. You know, in my day, we'd add a cold air intake that did nothing.
In my day, we would change the whole carburetor out for a Holly, and we would be smoking a pack of Camels and listening to Three Dog Night while we did it, and it would also do nothing. In fairness to Aggie Lemons, it's not like the ECU tune was really the problem. This was all happening the day before the race. They took it to a dyno, yes, a dyno, to do the tune. And while they were doing that, the U-joint exploded and completely destroyed the transmission. By the end of it, they did get the car running. They did finally pass tech. It did not run well. And they got back out on track for like 3 laps. They so got screwed.
The eBay Motors heroic fix went to Schadenfreude Racing and their 79 BMW 320i. Ironically, the heroic fix also came from a team that had a pretty good car that they started messing with. As I said, 79 BMW. They have now swapped in a 5-cylinder Mercedes turbo diesel motor, 6-speed manual transmission from a 350Z, and the entire rear subframe diff suspension assembly from a Thunderbird. After blowing up the indestructible, according to the internet, 5-cylinder Mercedes diesel, this team quickly and quietly swapped the whole motor. We didn't even know it was happening. There's all kinds of monkey motion involved with this because the custom drivetrain doesn't bolt into anywhere where it's supposed to. We didn't even notice that all of this was going on, and next thing we knew, they were out on track. We thought, hey, maybe they just took a lunch break. I don't know. Anyway, the following day, they were like, oh yeah, you know, we just had a small problem. We just had to swap the motor and entire drivetrain yesterday, but nah, everything's good now. Big wrenching, small theatrics, that's heroic.
Halloween Beats Gasoline for the best and most entertaining theme of the weekend went to Team Lowball's subsidiary, Team Dixon Cider. I'm not going to trouble you with all of the details of this, but just let it be safe to say Dixon Cider is now an entire line of refreshing beverages, including... I'm not going to go on. There's your trophy.
Organizer's choice went to longtime Lemons racers Spin It to Win It and their V6 swapped Toyota MR2. I think that's what it is. Who cares? They were actually celebrating the team's 10th anniversary in Lemons racing. They threw a giant paddock party, including a huge barbecue trailer, a dance floor, and a TV playing a series of cameo recordings they had bought for themselves, featuring race drivers and marginal celebrities, congratulating them for making it to 10 years in Lemons.
I think you're doing great. I know you haven't won yet, but you gotta be getting close.
And nothing says car racing like paying strangers for congratulations. That, plus the fact that they've been around for 10 years and haven't pissed us off. Some teams do that in one race or one conversation. All of that makes this a very well-deserved org choice for Spin It to Win It.
And that takes us to the IOE, the top prize in Lemons. That went to SIP Motorsports and their 92 Mazda 929. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, au contraire, mon frere. The IOE is for Nash Metropolitans and Mitsuoka Buttes. Not at all.
Yeah, for starters, let me just say that we love Mazdas. When people ask us what kind of car they should buy, decent chance we're going to say Mazda.
But let's face it, there have been times when Mazda did not have its together. And one of them was the early 90s, because they were thinking, well, Acura, Lexus, we're going to be just like that. We're going to build a high-tech luxury sedan as a flagship. And here's what they came up with. Front engine, great. Rear drive, fine. Four-wheel steering, brilliant. They even had variable intake runners and solar cooling on the top model. How could this not be great? Well, for one thing, it weighed like 88,000 pounds. It had like, 48 horsepower. It was the piggiest slug you could possibly buy. And you know what? Nobody did. How did it sell?
Poorly.
30 years later, you've got this incredibly overweight, super complicated car, a complete orphan within its own industry, no part support, no tech support. all kinds of complicated stuff to get broken, and yet these guys have figured out how to make it run an endurance race. If one thing goes wrong, they're but if nothing goes wrong and it runs for an extended period, you can be 20th overall in a 110 car field in that IOE.
There you go. Here's Lemons in a nutshell.
Every second you don't subscribe or watch one of these videos, another Vega is sent to the crusher. Won't you help us save Classic?